Clarity is power. Most people drift through life like a boat without a rudder, reacting instead of creating, hoping instead of deciding. But the moment you get crystal clear on what you want, truly want, everything starts to shift. Vague goals produce vague results. You can't hit a target you can't see. You need to know exactly what you're after. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What will it give you emotionally, physically, financially, spiritually? Clarity isn't just writing down goals. It's about emotional intensity. When you're crystal clear, your brain starts filtering the world differently. It notices opportunities it used to ignore. It aligns your thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors toward one compelling direction. Think about it. How can you summon power, persistence, and passion if you don't even know what game you're playing? Most people say, I just want to be happy or I want success. That's not clarity. That's not clarity. That's fog. What does happiness mean to you? What does success look like at 7 a.m., at 2 p.m.? In 5 years, until you define it in detail, you'll stay stuck in the loop of frustration, chasing shadows instead of outcomes. Clarity is the decision to stop tolerating confusion. It's the first act of leadership in your own life. It's where transformation begins, because only when you know what you want can you start building the strategy, stacking the habits, and aligning the environment to get there. Raise your standards. That's the foundation. That's the line in the sand where everything starts to change. Because the truth is, you don't get what you want in life. You get what you tolerate. You get your standards. Most people think their dreams are out of reach because they're not smart enough, rich enough, lucky enough. But that's a lie. The real reason is they're living at a standard that's too low for the life they say they want. Your standards shape your identity. They dictate your habits, your relationships, your finances, your health, everything. If you're overweight, it's not because you want to be. It's because at some level you've accepted that as your standard. If your income is stuck at the same level year after year, it's not because you're incapable of more. It's because that number is what you believe is acceptable for you. You've unconsciously set a thermostat, and no matter how hard you push, you'll snap back to that familiar level unless you change what you demand from yourself. Look at the people who achieve massive breakthroughs in business, in fitness, in relationships. They didn't just work harder. They raised their standards. They decided that a good enough was no longer good enough. They looked at where they were and said, this is not who I am. This is not the life I will settle for. That shift wasn't magic. It was a conscious decision to expect more and to never again accept less. When you raise your standards, you immediately raise your energy. You become emotionally connected to a higher version of yourself. And that connection creates pressure. The kind of pressure that doesn't break you, but forges you. Suddenly, you start doing things differently. You wake up earlier. You train harder. You speak with more conviction. You stop wasting time because your new standard won't allow it. And this isn't about being perfect. This is about being uncompromising in what you will and will not settle for. You may not know all the hows. That doesn't matter. All the hows. When you absolutely commit to a new standard, your mind finds a way. Your environment starts to bend to your expectations. People treat you differently. Opportunities begin to open, not because of luck, but because of who you've decided to become. But here's the secret. Raising your standards isn't a one-time event. It's a daily ritual. It's waking up and recommitting to the life you've chosen, not the one that's been handed to you. It's recognizing when you're slipping and pulling yourself back up before comfort turns into complacency. You don't raise your standards once and expect everything to stay at that level. You raise them, live them, and defend them with action every single day. Most people have dreams that live on vision boards and in journals. But high standards pull those dreams out of fantasy and into reality. Your standards create urgency. They demand execution. They shift your focus from hoping to doing, from talking to creating, from waiting to leading. You stop looking for shortcuts and start building systems. You stop blaming your circumstances and start designing your life. Because when your standards change, your behaviors change. And when your behaviors change, your results follow. The reason most people never reach their goals is not because they aim too high and miss. It's because they aim too low and hit. They set a low bar and meet it, and then wonder why they feel empty. They confuse being busy with being effective. They let life happen to them instead of through them. But the people who create lasting change, the ones who rewrite their stories, They raise the bar so high that average is no longer an option. They burn the boats. They make excuses unacceptable. They make progress non-negotiable. They make growth their lifestyle. Everybody has a list of things they should do. I should lose weight. I should start saving more money. I should call my parents. I should start that business. The world is filled with people drowning in shoulds. They talk about them, think about them, even stress about them. But the truth is, a should has no power. It's weak. It's soft. It's a lie we tell ourselves to feel a little better for not doing the thing we know we were born to do. A should is just a dream without commitment, a fantasy with no teeth. But when a should becomes a must, everything changes. When something becomes a must, it becomes a standard, a non-negotiable. You no longer try, you do. You no longer dabble, you commit. You no longer entertain excuses, you execute. That's the power of converting your internal dialogue from a should to I must. Because a must is backed by urgency, intensity, and resolve. A must taps into your identity, into your deepest values, into who you believe you really are. Think back to a time in your life when you made a real change. Not the kind of change you talked about and hoped for, the kind that shook your world. Maybe it was when you left a toxic relationship. Maybe it was when you quit that job you hated. Maybe it was the moment you decided, I'm done playing small. That moment didn't come from a should. It came from a must, from a line in the sand that said, you know more, and from that place of resolve, you moved mountains. The difference between people who live their dreams and those who stay stuck isn't talent. It's not resources. It's not even timing. It's what they associate with pain and pleasure. Miserable. If you only should change, then not changing doesn't hurt bad enough yet. But when not changing becomes unbearable, when staying the same feels like death, then suddenly you act, you move, you disrupt everything. Because the pain of inaction has become greater than the fear of doing the thing. People don't break through because they're inspired 24/7. They break through because they attach massive pain to staying stuck and massive pleasure to changing now. They create so much emotional leverage that change becomes automatic. When the internal thermostat shifts, the external world has no choice but to follow. And that shift happens the moment you take your shoulds and turn them into musts. But here's the trap. Society is wired to keep you in the land of shoulds. It rewards potential more than execution. It makes it acceptable to talk about your goals year after year with no results. It gives you sympathy, support, and excuses. It seduces you with comfort. But comfort is the enemy of greatness. You've got to get hungry. You've got to raise the stakes. You've got to make it so painful to keep settling that your nervous system screams, a never again. Turning a should into a must is an identity shift. It's saying, this is who I am now. Not I want to be someone who's fit, but I am someone who never misses a workout. Not I should work on my business, but I must build this because this is my calling, my legacy, my mission. When your identity changes, your habits follow. And when your habits change, your results become inevitable. You don't need more motivation. You need more leverage. You need more leverage. You need reasons that burn. Reasons that wake you up at 5 a.m. Reasons that make saying no to distractions automatic. You need to link so much meaning, urgency, and purpose to your goal that quitting feels like betraying yourself. And that kind of fuel doesn't come from shoulds. It only comes from musts. Massive action is the cure-all. Not thinking, not planning, not journaling about it for 6 months. Not watching another motivational video. Action, massive, relentless, focused action, is the force that breaks through every wall, crushes every excuse, and dissolves every fear. It's the only thing that separates the talkers from the doers, the dreamers from the achievers, the ones who wish from the ones who win. Because no matter how big your vision is, no matter how strong your why is, if you don't take action, nothing happens. People love to complicate success. They turn it into a riddle. They say things like, I need more clarity, I'm waiting for the right time. I need to do a little more research. That's the language of delay. That's procrastination dressed up as intelligence. Here's the truth. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to move. Success doesn't come to the most prepared. It comes to the most committed. And commitment only shows up when action starts. You can read every book, take every course, build the perfect strategy on paper. But if you don't act on it now, you're stuck in a loop. Analysis paralysis. You think you're progressing because you're learning, but learning without action is just entertainment. It's distraction. The only way you build momentum is by doing. And once you do, once you step into motion, the game changes, because momentum is real power. You don't wait for confidence to act. You act your way into confidence. You don't wait for the fear to go away. You move despite the fear, and that's how it loses its grip. Massive action is about intensity, yes, but it's also about volume and velocity. It's making more calls, sending more emails, testing more offers, having more conversations, lifting heavier, waking up earlier, staying in the game longer. It's not a little push, it's an onslaught. It's going all in. It's showing life that you're serious, that you're not here to try, you're here to take over. And when you start operating from that place, the universe responds. Doors open. People show up. Resources appear. Not because of luck, but because you shifted from passive to powerful. And here's something people forget. Action isn't just about execution. It's the ultimate feedback loop. You can't know what works until you do it. You can't adjust what doesn't work until you try. Massive action gives you data. It sharpens your instincts. It reveals the truth. Fast. So many people are sitting on million-dollar ideas, life-changing decisions, next-level relationships, but they'll never see the payoff because they're waiting to be certain. Certainty doesn't come before the action. It comes after. So, you don't need a perfect plan. You need a decision followed by action. You need to build the muscle of execution so strong that hesitation becomes unnatural. Most people want to feel ready, but the high performers of the world, they create readiness. They don't wait for the mood, they create the state. They use energy, physiology, focus language, whatever it takes, and then they act. Not once, not occasionally, relentlessly. Massive action also destroys fear. You cannot think your way out of fear. Fear lives in the mind. But when you take action, real committed, full force action, fear gets drowned out. It gets overpowered. The fastest way to build certainty is not through thought. It's through experience. It's by doing the things, seeing that you survived, and then stacking that win. Confidence is a byproduct of results, and results are a byproduct of massive action. Massive action is the separator. It's the reason some people can go from rock bottom to unstoppable, from unknown to unforgettable, from ordinary to extraordinary. It's the trigger that makes the shift from intention to identity. Because once you see yourself as someone who acts, someone who executes no matter what, you stop looking for permission. You stop negotiating with your limitations. You stop waiting for life to deliver and start demanding that it responds to who you've decided to become. Adapt like a warrior. Because life isn't a straight line. The moment you decide on a goal, the moment you set your sights on something greater, you better believe that life will test you. It will throw chaos at you. It will shift the landscape. It will pull the rug out from under your feet. The people who win aren't the ones with perfect conditions. They're the ones who refuse to break, who refuse to freeze, who refuse to cling to the old plan when the map no longer matches the territory. They adapt. Not timidly, not cautiously, but fiercely, like a warrior in the middle of a battlefield, adjusting in real time, never losing sight of the mission. When you adapt like a warrior, you stop wishing things were easier and start getting stronger. You stop needing certainty and start mastering flexibility. You build a mindset that says, throw me in the fire. I'll learn how to walk through it. The strategy might change. The timing might shift. The people around you might quit, but you stay grounded in your why, and you adjust everything else. Warriors don't wait for the perfect moment. They create the next move from whatever is available. Adaptation doesn't mean lowering your standards. It means changing your approach until you get the outcome. Too many people confuse persistence with stubbornness. They keep trying the same thing that's not working, hoping it'll magically click. That's not grit, that's insanity. Real resilience is strategic. It's intelligent. It's having the emotional flexibility to say, this isn't working. What else can I try? It's being more committed to the outcome than the method. Look at nature. The strongest species aren't the biggest, the faster, the most aggressive. They're the ones that adapt. They evolve. They shift in response to their environment. And because of that, they survive while others disappear. Human beings are no different. The people who rise above the chaos are the ones who use every setback as fuel, every failure as feedback, every obstacle as training. They treat pressure as the environment for growth. Adapting like a warrior also means managing your state. You can't control the economy, the politics, the weather, or how other people behave, but you can control how you respond. You can control your focus. You can control your physiology, you can control your meaning. Warriors don't fall apart when things go wrong. They center themselves. Hows? They use rituals, breath, movement, intensity, whatever it takes to stay in the zone. Because when your state is strong, your ability to adapt multiplies. You have to train yourself to see problems as puzzles, to lean in instead of pull back. The average person sees change and panics. The warrior sees change and prepares. While others are asking, why is this happening to me? The warrior is asking, what's my next move? It's a completely different operating system. Confidence is a muscle, discipline is a muscle, courage is a muscle. Most people wait until they need these states, but warriors train them daily. They rehearse how they want to feel, how they want to feel, how they want to think, how they want to move. So when the pressure's on, they don't break. They default to power. Because power isn't found in the moment. It's conditioned before the moment ever arrives. There's a version of you that doesn't need caffeine to feel alive, that doesn't need external praise to feel confident, that doesn't need perfect conditions to be productive.